والتفاعل مع الناس بشكل عام. سيقدم لكم زملائي سوزانا وشارلي العرض اليوم. أتمنى لكم الاستمتاع. Over to you, Susanna.
Thank you very much, and welcome to our session on how to create engaging and magical interactions with social robots. With myself, Susanna Dillenbeck, and my colleague Charlie Caper, and of course our robot, Furhat. And in this quite short session, we want to share our experiences and learnings on how to build meaningful and interesting interactions between humans and machines. And we want to make sure that we don't have echo in the background. And after that, we want to go beyond just digital text or voice bots and bring you with us into the exciting world of physical robots, which you saw a glimpse of here earlier. But to start with, who are we? Furhat Robotics, we're a social robotics startup from Sweden, stemming from research at the Royal Institute of Technology here in Stockholm. And we're a group of entrepreneurs, innovators, researchers, and programmers who have a joint vision of wanting to use technology in a new way, just like we think that you here on the call want to do within your respective areas of expertise. And today, I'm going to give you a quick intro into what social robotics is, and then we're going to have a quite informal discussion with Charlie, my colleague, who is not only an interaction designer here at Furhat Robotics, but he has also spent almost 2 decades as a traveling magician and a high-tech performer, including the use of social robots in his shows. So you do not want to miss to take part of his experience. And of course, feel free to ask questions. We'll try to answer them as we go. But before I hand over to Charlie and Furhat, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to what social robots are. So I'm actually going to share my screen just to tell you a little bit of background. So to begin with, social robots, they're commonly defined as physical robots built for social contexts, as opposed to, for example, virtual chatbots that one could claim are social but not physical, and physical robots that, of course, are physical but not social, for example, in manufacturing. And these can come in many different shapes or forms. I'm certain that you have seen some of these robots out in the real world before, and the common denominator here is that they are used for social purposes. And as robot evangelists, we quite often get the questions, but what are they used for? Do we really need this? Isn't it enough to have Siri or Google Home for etc.? And I thought the best way of answering that is, of course, to take a look at what some of our clients are doing. So, for example, we have the Swedish HR startup Tengai, who is building the world's first unbiased recruiter robot, where the robot is performing the initial screening interviews in a recruitment process to help offload recruitment teams and remove the bias from the process. We have global pharmaceutical company Merck, who is building a medical screening robot to be deployed in public spaces and to increase awareness of common diseases. And there's Japanese gaming company Bandai Namco, who is creating a physical embodiment of their beloved manga character Mirai Komachi that you can see here on the screen. And what these companies have in they believe in the value of physical presence in interactions. They believe that having someone or something that looks you in the eye and express emotion, that is crucial to certain social situations and contexts, and so do we. So the question then is, how do we build these interactions and how do we make them purely interesting? And to reflect on these questions, I'm very excited to have my colleague Charlie here. Some of you may be thinking, what does magic have to do with conversational AI? These are 2 different things. But for us, it's not. It really is pretty much the same thing, because we're trying to create an illusion of building machines that can understand us humans, right? And who is better at creating illusions than a highly experienced magician, and also someone who has traveled the world and shown his robot interactions to thousands and thousands of people all over the world, and through that gained really unique experience. So with that being said, Charlie is standing here in the room next to me. I'm going to turn to you and say hi, Charlie, and hi.
Oh, hello, folks. I'm Charlie, and this is the Furhat, in case you couldn't tell the difference.
Hello, everyone. What a pleasure to be here with you today.
مرحبا والسلام عليكم. أنا روبوت اجتماع اسمي فرهات، وأنا سعيد جدا بفرصة الوجود معكم هنا اليوم.
In case you were wondering, the Furhat is the one of us that speaks the better Arabic. That's how it works.
So, Charlie, in your experience, what are the most important aspects of creating an interesting interactions between humans and robots?
Well, there's a couple of things that make an interaction with a robot at this point in the technology that we have interesting. And I would say it's nice to have in any interaction some little surprises in the interaction, because in an interaction, if everything is happening as you're expecting it to be, then it gets boring very, very quickly. It's good for the developers to think a little bit about character and the personality of the robot that they have. And you want to spend a lot of time on creating variants, like many different options in both the output from the robot and the input that it's able to handle from the users. And it's great to show some sort of situational awareness from the point of the robot.
Thanks, Charlie. And one thing I'd like to mention to all of you at home, if you double click on Charlie's video, you're going to see him and Furhat widescreen, because I think otherwise you only see half of Furhat. So that's an advice I'd like to give you. And Charlie, you mentioned character, but why is that important? Does every robot interaction need character?
I would say it's always great to at least think about character, because it really makes things fit together. If you make some decisions for the character of the robot, it becomes a theme or a glue that makes the whole thing more organic. It's also great for the creativity when you're developing it, because setting a character for the robot limits you. You're not working on a blank slate anymore. And that's a good thing, because limitations feed creativity. If I ask you to write something, that's very wide. It's very difficult. What? Where do we start? But if I ask you to write a 2-page crime story that takes place in a forest, now suddenly ideas come to mind, and it's much easier to work from it. So making some decisions for character often creates a baseline that makes it easier to work from. And it also gives you something to break against for effect. So if you have a very calm character, you can twist it a little bit about there. Just in case, we notice now some people are seeing this in half screen. Maybe a little bit more. It also gives you something to break against. If you have a very calm and composed character, for instance, and it suddenly gets angry, that now means something. So you can make a couple of different decisions for character, and you can make some external decisions for the robot, like thinking about the voice and the expressions and the face. And that's one benefit of the Furhat robot, is that you can make a lot of faces, can't you?
My face can portray characters of different genders or ages and ethnicities. And by changing out my mask, it is possible to take it even further.
Yeah, let's try that, actually.
Okay. Please change my mask.
So this is a little experiment that we made a couple of weeks ago. Okay, it's done.
Okay.
Go to the... Oh yeah, fantastic. So what a social robot should look like It's an interesting research question, and Furhat is not going to answer that for our clients. With the Furhat system, it's very easy to change out the mask. We have an anime style character,
Okay,
and we have a
please change
dog
me
one. We
back.
have different, a flat one. So you can basically make the robot look in the way that is best for the application that you need. Fantastic. You can also make some decisions about internal parts of the character, like its motivation, for instance. Why would you like to make a decision about motivation for the robot that you're developing, about what its motives are? Well, imagine going to a party and having a conversation with someone, and it turns out they care about nothing. They want nothing, not just at the party, but in life in general. They have nothing that they want to achieve. They have nothing that they want. That's an extremely boring person. So there's something in deciding just what the character wants. What does the robot want? And you can make decisions about background as well, for instance. Like just a simple decision like, oh, this robot likes 80s movies, leads to a lot of ideas and interesting decisions.
Thank you, Charlie. And sorry for cutting off either Charlie or Furhat here. In our backstage version, we could double click on one user, but it seems like it's not possible here. But it's a good thing that we like to be close to each other. So, Charlie, one question that we get fairly often is how to avoid monotony. And robots are, after all, at risk of becoming quite robot-like, especially in longer conversations. But do you have any advice on how we could avoid that?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I would just like to finish by saying about character that it's to not make a decision about character. That is also a decision. If I'm talking to you like this and I'm not moving at all and I have no expression on my face and I'm having a monotonous voice, you are going to take certain things away from that, and you're going to believe certain things about me based on those things. So having no character is also a character. No expression is also an expression. You can't not make this design choice. So that's an interesting part of it. Okay, so about avoiding monotony, because the voices, these text-to-speech TTS voices, they do have a tendency to get monotonous over if the robot speaks for very long periods of time in a row.
I shouldn't get to speak for too long, right?
No, and why is that?
Well, the TTS voices quickly become monotonous if I do long monologues.
Yeah, but if we alternate speaking like this, then it's fine, right?
Yeah, as you can see, it doesn't feel very monotonous.
So if the speech goes back and forth, then it works out. But if the very long stretches of time, then if this was to say 12 sentences, it would get boring very quick. You also want to add a lot of variance to the interaction. Like let the robot say the same thing in many different ways and randomly alternate between them. Just have lots of options.
I didn't understand that. Can you repeat, please?
I said you want to write many different responses for saying the same thing.
I didn't understand that. Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, you need variation in your responses.
I didn't understand that. Can you repeat, please?
I think that makes it clear that if the robot just repeats the same thing in the same way, you get the impression, you really see that the robot is not smart and it's a dead, dumb object.
Ouch.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyway, I think they get the point, Charlie.
Also, there might be people waiting in line to have the interaction with the robot. Maybe they're buying a ticket at the train station from the robot. And if they hear the robot saying exactly the same thing in exactly the same way to the people in front of them, when they get there, it's not a good feeling. Also, you want the robot to not explain to people how language works.
If you want to open the door, say open.
What was that?
If you want me to repeat, say repeat.
Kill me.
Exterminate.
Yeah, that can lead to some small misunderstandings, maybe. You want to always say and test things before you have the robot say it, because very often it comes out in a way that you don't think it will. Actually, Samer, our CEO, did spend some time on the Arabic that the robot said in the beginning, just to make it sound decent. We had to make a couple of changes and change some words out to make it nice. But very often you can have it sound good in some way. It's another nice little tactic, which is feeding a keyword back to the people, like basically feeding back what they're saying to them.
How good is it when I repeat your words back to you?
Oh, that's great.
Damn right it is great.
So I could have said a very, very large amount of words there, and it actually picked up on the keyword that I said, and then it repeats it back, and that's a good feeling. You can also have some variance in expressions of the robot. You can show us a couple of expressions, right?
Obviously, I can show different gestures and facial expressions. Can you do this?
Oh, I can actually. I practiced a lot. And you can have variance in speech, tone, and languages.
I can speak with 200 different voices, of different genders, ages and languages. And lip sync automatically.
To quote Wittgenstein,
Die Grenzen meiner Sprache bedeuten die Grenzen meiner Welt.
The limits of my language mean the limits of my world.
Maybe a bit pretentious?
To quote Wittgenstein, probably. So in final, to patch up the monotony holes of TTS speech, you want to play around with the language quite a lot. And it's also nice to vary the rate and the volume. Like in some applications that we made, every sentence that the robot says, the speed of the speech is randomly increased or decreased with a couple of percent. And just having that adds a bit of dynamic feeling to a longer interaction. And you can put in voice gestures, like having the robot go, these kind of things, and fill around with commas and punctuation.
Cool, thanks, Charlie. I see the time is run away, but there's one more question that I think is really interesting to ask you, and that is in the aspect of situational awareness. So we can see a bit here that the robot is following around with its head, but why is it important that the machine that you're talking to knows where you are? What kind of difference does?
It's great to let the robot know things it cannot know, or just understand the situation around it, and to show that is a strong thing. Like knowing how many users there are and being able to separate them, who spoke, who is smiling, where are people, where are they looking. Imagine being at the museum and there's a robot there and you're watching a painting and the robot says, oh, you like the Van Gogh? That's my favorite too. You know, it was painted in 16, or when did Van Gogh paint? I'm not sure. I feel embarrassed now. I should have looked this up before. But just showing that it understands the situation is a great thing. Let's try a little vision interaction here. Let's just see it picks me up because I've been standing on this strange side. Oh yeah, great.
Using my camera, I can see where a user is and follow him or her as they move around. Charlie, move around and I will follow you.
So you can see here how the robot is following my head. Okay, I'm done.
I can even see where a user's attention is and identify some face gestures, for example if they are smiling. Please look away and let's pretend we just met. And now slowly look at me.
Okay.
Perfect, now you are looking at me. And how about a smile? Nice smile, my friend. Great, thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, you can also have the robot talk about things that it should not be able to know. Like if you come out into a hotel and there's a robot there, and the robot knows that it's very hot outside, it's 31 degrees. So it says, oh, welcome, there's cold water over there. Or it knows it's raining and it says, oh, welcome to the hotel. Did you escape the rain okay? It can know about the traffic situation. And it's great, it's remembering things about the person, like their name and what they want, and these kind of things. And you want to capture lots of user input generally, and have because users will say things that you cannot predict. So you need to think a lot about it and then try it on actual people and then try it again, remake it, try it again. I'm just going to finish on showing a slight little multi-user thing here. Make sure the robot has picked me up again. Every time I stand here, I vanish. And we know some of you are seeing this in half screen. Oh, I'm going to be here.
Is there anyone else there with you?
Oh, yeah, Susanna, can you come over here? It's strange. We're squeezing into a tight space here so you can see if you're watching it on.
Hi. You must be Susanna. Nice to meet you. What is your favorite color?
What's your favorite color, Susanna?
Purple.
Wonderful choice. Purple is beautiful. Charlie, you can leave now. I like you more, Susanna.
Right, we knew that already.
Lovely to meet all of you.
All right, thank you, Charlie and Furhat. And sorry that we had to squeeze in a bit here. In our practice round, we could have widescreen, and now we had half screen. So you might have missed some of the magic happening when Charlie was out of picture, but we hope that you got the essence of what social robots can do and took good notes of Charlie's tips and advice. I think they can be applicable both on physical social robots, but also if you are working in other spheres of the conversational AI world. I know that we have run over time, even 3 minutes. If there are any questions, do feel free to ask them or come to our booth or just ping us somewhere in the virtual world, and we'll be happy to answer your questions the best we could. We enjoyed having you with us here, even though we had to make some live changes to the camera view, but that is how live demos is. So thank you so much for joining, and I think we're handing over to...
On that note, Susanna, perhaps in the future, if the changes need to be made to the camera, could we have a situation wherein the robot is able to automatically detect that it's outside the camera and align itself accordingly? Is that kind of intelligence?
To be honest, we haven't tried it here. Our robot is obviously made to be interacted with in the physical world. So just having it on the other side of a screen is, I would say, the next best thing to meeting Furhat. But I hope that you will all have the opportunity to meet our robot in real life. So it's not a feature that we have been working on, since we are hoping for more meetings in the physical world going ahead.
Yeah, if we program for it, I don't think it would be super tricky, actually. We've had it control physical objects like lamps in the rooms and being able to open boxes and things like this.
Perhaps also, Susanna and Charlie, could you speak about your clients or your operations specifically in the Middle East, because this is the Voice Tech Summit Middle East. So perhaps you can shed some light on how you are catering to the Middle East region.
Yeah, of course. So I would rather position our joining or attendance in this conference as a call for collaboration in the Middle East. We have some people that we are working with, ambassadors of our brand, that are out showing the robot to different clients. We were at GITEX last year, had a really good time. So this is a region that we think is very mature in this area, and where we see that our robot could contribute with a lot of good. And we're waiting for, I would say, our first brave client to jump on a really cool project with. So if you have any ideas, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're always on the hunt for explorers who want to take this journey with us, also outside all of the other regions that we're working with. So Middle East, we're waiting for you and hoping for you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Susanna. And thank you for and also thank you to Furhat, the robot. And that was Furhat, our gold sponsors for the initiative. If any of the audience would like to interact with Susanna, Charlie, or the robot, in fact, then they are all available backstage in the VIP lounge and the networking area for some time. Feel free to interact with any of with Charlie, Susanna, or in fact our robot, Furhat.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
All right, everyone, we are going to slip into a very short networking break for 5 minutes. When we come back, we're going to have a panel discussion on the evolution of voice assistants in the banking and financial industry. All this and much more in about 5 minutes' time. We shall see you then.